Hello, everyone. You're welcome to another episode of Divide. I am Aurelio Ashonibari, your host, and I'm happy to have you on another episode. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you've been enjoying the content we've been. When I say we, is I, my wife, my whole community of friends asking how far when is the next episode, and everybody supporting me. I hope we'll be giving you really good content. The hashtag is #Divide Podcast. And you're welcome to another episode. How has your week been? I hope your week has been good. If your week has not been good, the weekend is close. If your week has been good, the weekend is also close. So on this episode, we're going to be talking about something that I think is a lifesaver. It's a lifesaver because it's a concept that influences every aspect of our lives. This is one thing that I am very grateful that I learned at a very young age. And in a generation that is filled with goal setters and brand builders and aim hires and people hoping to be better and do better, which is really good and which is something to not stop. It's a concept that would really help everybody. And this concept is contentment. I tell people every time they are looking forward to the next phase of life, I always tell them that, you need to pace yourself. And more than pacing yourself, you need to be settled in where you are. And I think this is something that is very, very hard to achieve, especially in this generation. Like, we have social media where you have content just being thrown at you. Everybody's milestone is being announced, and even though the person's process is not what you see, but you see the milestone and you're just like, wow, that. And you even have people that intentionally position themselves, which is actually a lot of people, to look a certain way like everything is fine. And that even makes things like worse, because I've seen people that never have a bad day. Like, you will never see it online that they have a bad day. They are always just achieving. And it's great. You get, because social media is what you want to share at the end of the day. But I feel like we've somehow understood social media to be the entirety of people's lives. So, like, if somebody is quiet on the timeline for 4 months and then boom, the person goes on a much needed vacation after the person has almost been burnt out, another person at work, Tunde at work, is looking at your video and is like, oh my God, I'm here wasting my life. Or like, there's just so much that goes on in the back end that we don't see, and it affects people's expectation and how they interpret where they are. And while it's good to aim higher, while it's good to aim higher, it's also good to be at peace with where you are. I think this is important because life itself is a process. Like, at the end of the day, wherever we want to be in the next 10 years, the mass bulk of what happens in the next 10 years is actually what happens in the next 10 years, not what happens at the end of the next 10 years. So, say you have a goal to, in the next 10 years, you want to build XYZ products, or you want to make XYZ money. The bulk of that experience is what matters the most, not the fact that you actually finally achieved the goal. I remember when I was in secondary school and also university, there were people that were so bent on coming out with great grades that they did not care who they stepped on, how they treated people, whether they hid information. They were just all about, I need to come up with first class and nobody's going to stop me. And while it is good that at the end of the day, the person might come up with the first class and be holding the plaque, the experience and the process that led into that, and even the process you as a person experienced, is very important. And I feel like if you're intentional about the experience, you would appreciate contentment. Because at the end of the day, life in truth is the process. Like, life is what you went through, how you felt during that process, not necessarily the end goal or the achievements that you ended up with. I think that is something to actually sit down with and think about. Contentment is what keeps you in the midst of all the madness. And if you master that, it's easier for you to understand where you are, because So let me put it like this. One thing we have done as a generation is whenever people talk about contentment, the first thing that comes to our mind is we say, this person doesn't want better for himself. And it's not true, because a person that is content doesn't lack ambition. Like, contentment is the ability for you to be okay with where you are, and to most importantly be at peace with where you are. And while you're at peace with where you are, you can aim for higher. Most people, the new modern sense of contentment that people talk about when you talk about contentment is that, you need to not like where you are because you have goals you need to accomplish. You need to get to the next phase, so you cannot just stay, like, don't settle. And while it's nice, the UX of it is actually not great. If you are never going to get to a point where you are at peace with where you are, and the only point where you get at peace is the final destination of your achievement, then you live a very tedious life. I mean, we are a generation that now struggles with like a lot of things, from depression to all sorts of burnout at different levels. Like, there's even like psychological tiredness of being an achiever in this generation. It happened a lot to me when I was in uni, because in uni, everybody is talking about like the goals, in quotes, the popular goals are shifting at every point in time. Like, one time we are talking about how we need to get first class. The next thing we're talking about how we need to get the latest phone. The next thing you're talking about how you need to date this babe. The next thing, and I'm like, how many goals are you guys gunning for? Like, please. The truth is, a lot of people, what they think contentment is not truly what contentment is. What is the norm now is for people to be in contempt of where they are because they are hoping for where they want to be. So you are single right now. Everybody knows that you are single, and everybody knows how much you hate being single because you tweet about it. You tell 2 minutes into a conversation, you're like, God, can't wait for you to take me out of these trenches. And yes, like, that's not bad. It's not bad to say what you hope for, but there is a place for being at peace and maximizing where you are. Because like, if you feel contempt towards a phase of life or a period that you are in, you will never actually maximize that period. You would be constantly thinking about the next thing. And it's common among us, like, people can finish with a first class today, and in 2 days they're already like, I'm unemployed. And yes, you're unemployed, but like, you need to breathe. Like, you need to settle in. Oh my God, I have done this. I have achieved this. I'm happy with that, before you take on the next phase. Because life is not engineered to give you a breather at any point in time. When people finish with university, I tell them, see, you are lucky at where you are. Just this next 1 month, make sure you rest. Make sure you clear your head before you now start the next thing. Because by the time you get a job, there is no breather unless you get leave. And by the time you get leave, you're thinking about all the skills you want to learn. And by the time you are done learning your skills, because now you know hobbies don't exist anymore. Every hobby is a potential business that you need to capitalize on. People don't have hobbies again. All people have is potential selling interests. So some people can write, but now they charge for writing. And it's like, when you commoditize something, there is a tiredness and a tediousness that comes with it automatically. That's another discussion for another day. But yeah, contentment is being settled and being at peace at a phase enough to enjoy that phase while also gunning for the next phase. Contentment is not you hating where you are because of where you want to be. Because if you constantly hate where you are, you will never be grateful for where you are. You will never be grateful for your journey. And if you're not grateful for your journey, you will get burnt out emotionally really quick, because you'll be working so hard towards a goal that will constantly be shifting. Okay, let me share a personal experience. I remember when I first started WeCreate, and I was like, oh my God, the goal for this business, like for the next XYZ, is I need to do 15 million in revenue. And we did 15 million in 2019. And I was just like, yes, Yes. Before I knew, what was next thought to my head? Another year is coming. We need to do better. We need to 100% like 2x this, and it takes more work to do that. And after that, you do 45, and then you double it, and it takes more work. So life itself is a constant process of gunning for more and more. But the only way you would truly enjoy the experience that life is by enjoying the processes involved, because there are more processes than there are milestones in life. That's the honest truth. When I got married, when you're young, you're like, once I get married, and then you get married, and then you realize that it's more responsibilities, and you're happy to take those responsibilities on because you love your partner. And that is what fuels your ability to give it your all. But it doesn't take the fact that there is still more to be done. So no destination or goal or milestone is truly a destination, aside from, it might be a dark joke, aside from death. Death is the final destination, but after you die, there is nothing more to do. You now truly rest in peace. And so when you realize that, you then see the place to be content and also to enjoy the moments and the pockets of happiness that you have. Like if people in our generation were recorded like in a Bible, they would say God when they would say, God, I beg you. They would say, Father, Lord, take me out of this place that I'm currently in, more than they would be thankful about the experience. And if you read the Bible, I see the Bible as a good model to check the experiences that people have gone through, because it's actually nothing new under the sun. Solomon was right. Like, you see, everybody in the Bible that climbed from one level to the other, that person did so by intentionally working towards it more than they did about complaining. Like, we did not see anywhere in the Bible where Joseph or David outrightly complained about, this place is so terrible, God, I need to leave here. It was more of a depending on God for the next phase in a place of thankfulness. Like, if you look at David's life, you see that David went through so many things, but in every phase, you will probably see a psalm thanking God about a phase. And that is a huge lesson. But back to contentment. Contentment is you being able to have peace and be settled where you are before the next goal that you set. It is important to be at peace with where you are. If you are not at peace or contented with where you are, you will not be grateful for your journey. An interesting thing is, gratitude is not only gotten from what's in the future. Reflection is a very good source of gratitude. If you sit and reflect on your journey thus far, you would be grateful for how far you've come. But most times we think the future holds all the new and shiny things we should be excited about. But if we sit and we reflect about how far we've come over the past 5 years, we would realize that we've achieved and we've made so much progress that we should be grateful for, that we should pat ourselves at the back for, because the goals ahead would never finish, to be honest. And gratitude is not only gotten from the new things, it's also gotten from the journey thus far. I think it's important to be able to count our million little miracles, because we have many, but we don't just count them. I saw a picture of my family today, very old picture, and they shared it with me, and I saw it and I was just very happy, because the picture is probably like 15 to 20 years old, and I was just really young, and I could see like the innocence in my eyes, even though I'm still innocent. Yeah, by the grace of God, even though life has tried to show me shaggy, but yeah, and it was just good to see that, and then just think back to how far I have come. Not because I have achieved everything I wanted to achieve, but because God has seen me through. And regardless of where you find yourself, you've made progress. And the truth is, where you are currently that you feel to be contented about is a phase that would probably not come again, and you have the opportunity to experience. So if you're a student today, you're in university, and you're already thinking about how you should be out there making money and be doing 9 to 5 and just have a job, I can assure you there will be a time when you'll be working and you'll be hoping that you had more spare time, and you just remember when you were in uni and you're like, oh my God, when I was in uni, that was a really good time of my life. Everybody that has finished school at some point, I think it's that 3 to 5 years, after 3 to 5 years of living in university, you realize that maybe school wasn't a bad experience after all. But the truth is, every phase that you are in currently is one that you should be grateful for, is one that you should fully experience, is one that you shouldn't miss out on any day because you are hoping for the next. Yes, you should plan for the next. Yes, you should do your best in this phase for that phase to be better, but do not experience with contempt whatever phase you are in. Whether you are in Nigeria, whether you are single, whether you are living with your parents, whether you are at a job you want to leave, whether you are quarter to married and you are almost married and you can't just wait to get married, I want you to know that every phase that you are in serves purpose. And it might not be good purpose as per good glaring, like obviously this is the purpose, but there are things that you should experience wholly and not run from or hate, because it is part of your life. If you spend 5 years in university and you spend the 5 years hating university, by the time you leave university, you are likely to leave university with an attitude of hate. But if you spend 5 years in university maximizing whatever opportunities and whatever lessons you need to learn in university, you would leave university with the ability to make the best of situations that you find yourself. And that in itself is a life valuable skill. Contentment is something that is necessary. And finance, my goodness, personal finance is that concept that you need contentment for. Bruh, I laugh because I realize how hard it actually is. But yeah, and I have some examples that will buttress the point. You can truly enjoy that Infinix you're currently using before you move on to the next device. You can fully enjoy the Pixel 4a that you are using before you get the Pixel 7. Conveniently, I'm using the Pixel 4a. But you can maximize wherever you find yourself before the next goal that you've set for yourself. If you use with contempt everything you have at your disposal because you can't wait to replace them, you are setting your heart in a very wrong posture. So it's important for us to have the right posture for our heart as we go through life. Contentment is one that will help us to make the most out of the experience that we have in life. I think it's important for us to also reflect, and I think reflection helps with contentment. When you are more aware as to how far you have come, it helps you to be at peace in that over the past XYZ, you've been able to grow and make progress, and currently you are on the right path. And you might even be in a very interesting season of your life and you actually need a form of booster. I think reflection is one that helps. So I want us to reflect about what life has been like for the past 5 years and the things you are grateful for over the past 5 years. What are the top 3 things that you are grateful for that have happened to you that you want to remind yourself that this has happened and that has happened and that has happened? It could be graduating from university. It could be getting your first job. It could be actually earning money. It could be gaining mastery of a skill or a software. It could be progress. It could be getting lifelong relationships or friendships that you know that you are grateful for. It's important for us to reflect, and that's one of the reasons why Divide was started, to inspire people to reflect about life. Thank you very much for listening. Do share this episode with other people, younger people, so that they can also get in on the content that we're creating here. The hashtag is Divide Podcast. Do share what you're grateful for so that we can all remind ourselves that there is a lot of good happening, and good things have happened in the past and good things will happen in the future. Do have an amazing day ahead. Peace out, guys.